Okay, started now. All right. True peace, everybody. I guess we'll wait for everybody to come in.
What you sipping on?
Whoever's coming in. Let me put my phone on silent.
What you sipping on?
Whoever's coming in. Hold on. Let me put my phone on silent.
You can hear the background.
Yeah, I got it now. All right. It should be. I guess you spread it around.
I'm doing it now. I see the picture didn't change though.
Huh?
I see the picture didn't change.
Yeah, it changed back for some reason. I don't know why.
I see the picture. It's all good though.
All right.
Let me see what the chat room looks like.
Final nail in the coffin. This is what this is gonna be, as far as this subject is concerned. And this is, this one gonna be a quick smoker. It's gonna be a quick one, in and out. This show is gonna be about common sense.
Can you send me a picture of her dad?
That's what we're gonna dedicate it to: common sense or 9 cents.
I said he always been skinny. Never had no meals.
Got my ginger tea on deck.
Yeah, I was just wondering what you was sipping on. I know my wife gonna pull some out
Sipping
today.
on syrup.
From where?
I'm sipping on lean.
Sip on. He said he's sipping on some ginger lean. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, herbs. Because he's sipping on ginger tea.
Nah, this ginger tea, this something to wind down. End of the day. You know what I'm saying? Get your tea is always good. When tea. I always got to sip on a little something.
I got some candy. I got some tea in there. I'll make you a cup.
That's right. Get him some ginger. Get him some ginger tea or some chamomile tea.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him the chamomile. That's what I got up in here.
Yeah, get the chamomile. Oh man.
Get some
Get me some more.
get some goat tea.
A goat tea?
Some scapegoat tea.
Somebody might get their baby back from that. I get back from that too.
Yep.
Don't leave your credit card out like that.
Yeah, people in the chat, y'all just, come in, say what's up, let us know you there, and we're going to start the show up, because I don't want anybody to really miss what's going on. As y'all see, I'm sipping my little ginger tea. Spicy. But it's going to be spicy just like this show. I'm telling y'all. And it's really going to boil down to common sense. And a lot of times, common sense ain't too common. So it's going to be sweet. How y'all day been going, man? What's going on with you, Tanu? What you been up to?
Working and trying to get this information pumping. Right now, just had some nice time to wind down. And
Okay.
the wife made something. What is that? Vegetable soup?
Yes.
Had some vegetable soup, all vegetables and
brown rice,
brown
vegetable
rice.
stock,
So
everything fresh.
Y'all need to switch up from that brown rice. Get you some quinoa.
Oh, I eat that too. I eat that.
That's all I eat is the quinoa. I don't eat the rice no more. Dr. Savy got me like that. Yeah, Dr. Savy done demonized the rice. Yeah, cause the rice apparently they said the rice got a lot of starch, and that starch stick to the stomach and stuff like that, and that's really not good energy for the body. It gives you like a what you call it, a spike in energy, but then it drop you all the way down. So like I stopped with the starch or the rice and the pasta. Well, I can't lie and say I don't eat pasta, but from time to time I eat some vegan pasta. But yeah, the rice I definitely try to stay away from. But ginger tea is good. I try to follow Dr. Sabi's regimen as much as I can because he did a lot of good research. But I'm seeing a lot lately. A lot of people have been demonizing what Dr. Sabi been doing, which is not cool because that man put in a lot of work and a lot of research for what he's done. And I guess apparently, according to those court documents, he proved that he was healing these particular diseases. I mean, I didn't look through the court documents to see exactly what took place, but that's how a filthy nature boy got on, was demonizing Dr. Sabi.
I follow this girl called Star Marie, and she's a health guru. Outside of her being so conceited and all of that, she just said that she's about to plug in with one of Dr. Sebi's daughters that she's been talking to for years and get some health stuff, going on. This girl that I follow, she's the one that exposed Cardi B. I don't know if you keep up with that stuff with Tasha K and all of that. Star Marie, she was a stripper, but I started following her because she's very knowledgeable with health stuff and women issues. So outside of the other stuff, she's the bomb.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yada, he also too got on talking against Dr. Sabi. So they all been doing that, trying to.
And they ain't been doing no research. They don't got no, because Dr. Sabi had the Usha village down there. He had the research center. None of these clowns don't got no research center.
He has living proof. People that say that they.
I mean, you don't really have to have a research center, but they don't have no backing or no scientific evidence to prove none of the stuff that they say. They just be like, oh, Dr. Sebi was wrong and X, Y, and Z. But if you listen to a lot of Dr. Sebi's speeches, he breaks down a lot of the things he talk about scientifically. Now, granted, he not gonna give away his formula, so these filthy Negroes could go and capitalize on them. That look at what happened. Look at how they demonize him. So imagine if he'd have put those formulas out there, Yada and them would have been parading around the place like, yeah, I'm the one that taught Dr. Sebi in a different life, and it'd have been filthy. It'd have been nasty.
Yeah,
but
that's what it did. You got Liv and Kweepu in the chat.
Oh, true peace, y'all. True peace. What's going on, Liv? Liv, you a dedicated supporter. Liv, be on it. That's the big homie Olivia. Oh, all right. So yeah, this ginger tea done got my chest all warm. It's time to get it popping.
Loosen up phlegm. It does a lot of good stuff.
Yeah,
that's
that ginger.
Raw ginger or the tea? That's raw?
Yeah, that's raw ginger.
Yeah. It's the best.
Raw ginger. Hold on. I got some raw ginger right here. This is the only Dr. Sebi approved product that grows under the ground. It's the only, see, got some ginger right here.
I'm trying to grow some now. I'm waiting for it to bud up. I've been.
That's what we got to get back to, man. We got to get back to growing. But I don't know if this soil is pretty potent in America. Because, you know, it's in America, the soil is filthy.
Yep.
You know, they took all the good stuff. Now they trying to take the land from the Indians and their reservations.
Back again.
All right. Well, you know, we got the usual people in here, so I guess we could get the show started.
You know, the rest of them usually come in
a little later.
All
right. So, true peace, everybody. I'm a Newt Bunu Nupu. I represent the bone marrow in the Ethiopian race. And I'm gonna let my co-host introduce himself. I ain't gonna give a long speech. Actually, after you finish, I gotta go in on a couple of things.
All right, true peace to everybody in the chat and those who will be listening to this later on. I am Tarkenu Nupu, the bladder of the Ethiopian race, and we will be concluding this out of America theory. And the Ken said he got some nice information he's gonna drop on everybody so we can move forward, because this the negative forces have conjured up something to try to trap people as they coming up out of religion. So now it's, you know, it's basically what's left now is government conspiracies, extraterrestrials, the out of America theory, and versus out of Africa and flat Earth. That's pretty much what's all left on the table. So we'll definitely be getting into the flat Earth eventually, as Newport Noon guides us in whatever situation we're supposed to be in. So we just wanted to let it be known that we just want everything to be explained as best that you can and show you how to use everything around you, because everything we need is already right here. It's just the negative force of evolution have clouded our judgment and our ability to reason utilizing what's around you, because it's impossible for us to have access to all these places that these other races have. But Afro-Unu still came through and utilized that with his high reasonability and was able to put together these books. And so now what we're doing, like I always say, is we're here to validate the writings in such a way that people can just go ahead and get to the information, find out what they need to know about nature itself, so we can move on as a group and a living organism. So go ahead, Ken.
All right. So, you know, the first order of business, I got to do some advertisement. And those women's socks, like I told y'all, is coming. It should be here by Thursday. This is the men's pair. You want to order your pair, go to noponoon.com. That's NOPONOONE. Order your pair of socks if you need a pair. Also, I believe Quipu has some products, and Quipu and Tar Nunet actually have some products. Actually, I want Tar Nunet to, you know, just give us a little briefing on her website and, you know, what they got going on, because I think it's a new business, so I don't want to talk about it and I don't know too much about it. So if you could just
put it in, you can put the link in the description in the chat.
Yeah,
because we can't type it in there. Only you, the host, can type the name of it. Go ahead.
It's called it's called 9 by Nature. The name of the website. It's all organic and essential oils and soaps, bath salts, stuff for your hair, stuff for men, your mustache. It's growing. We're going to be adding more stuff to it, and we're just starting off. So that's the name of the site. It's called 9 by Nature.
That's
and
9.
You can type in the chat if I left something out.
Right?
Yes. People, she said type in anything else she may have left out about the site. Yeah, it's 9 by Nature, which is capital N, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, capital N. Yeah, 9bynature.com.
All right, cool. All right, yeah, we got to.
I think you just put it in there.
There's no lye in our soaps whatsoever. All natural, organic, essential oils.
Nice. I'll be ordering mine real soon. I need to get that on and popping. But yeah, business got to be first. Bills got to be paid. We trying to get away from you know, working for the filthy system, and you know, we got to exist like sons. And the only way that we can do that is through entrepreneurship. And this leads me back to this whole voting thing. I spoke briefly on it before. I'm gonna speak briefly on it again, and I just want to let the kins out there know. And kins, I know you might hear us use the word kin. The word kin comes from the word kindred, and kindred means the lineage of people who are of my race, meaning those that genuinely grow kinky hair on their heads. So if we don't call each other brothers and sisters, for the reason being is because religion demonized brother and sister, or they use it in or every time they mention a brother or sister, it's always a backstabbing story behind it. Cain and Abel, Set and Osiris and Horus. There's a bunch of them.
Jacob and Esau. Jacob and Esau, Solomon and Adonijah, the whole brother, the older brother, younger brother thing.
Yeah, so there's always a backstabbing connotation when it comes to religion. So the upgrade to that is for us to recognize each other as kins, and kins just means of the same kind. All right, so that's why we call each other kins. But this message is to, you know, my kins out there about this voting thing. The voting thing is if you look up the etymology of to vote, it's to make a pledge to a god. And in politics is just another form of religion, because you're looking to ask somebody or beg somebody to make your life easier, or make your life better, or basically guide your life in a direction in which you can do yourself without voting. Because truth be told, when we ever since we began voting or had the right to vote, we didn't benefit at all. We've always been put last, and we've always been the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to getting any type of privileges or any type of benefits that come with voting. So the best thing for Ethiopian people or African people to do is to get your economic success on. And the most trickiest thing that Ethiopian people are told is that if we vote for the right person, they'll help our economic success. And that's totally false. That is totally false. There's no politician that's going to make us rich. But your intelligence and your creativity into going into entrepreneurship will make you wealthy, especially if we support each other. If you look at politics and religion, what happens? If you look at Trump, Trump takes a lot of money from NRA, from all these groups that are backing him what? Financially. We can't back anyone financially. So guess what? They're not going to look at us. They're not going to think, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, y'all out. Now, politicians, they move by money. So if we don't have a financial backing to say, okay, we're going to back this politician so he could fight for reparations or fight for, we're not putting $1 behind these politicians. So what you think they're going to do? They're going to go with the people that's putting millions of dollars behind them, the NRA. They're going to fight for gun laws. They're going to make sure the gun laws is in there. They're going to fight for those that put millions behind them. What are we just doing? Begging. All we doing is begging with no money behind it. And I'm not saying get your money and put money behind them. What I'm saying is get your money, right? And then you can start talking if you want to orchestrate those type of moves. Me personally, if I get that type of money, I ain't putting no money behind them. I rather put my money back into Africa because as you can see, China is trying to take over Africa and we have millionaires right here in America. Why we can't put our millions back into Africa? That's because we don't have that trust between the Africans on Africa and the trust of the Africans in the Caribbean and the trust of the Africans here in America. Shoot, there's Africans here in America that don't trust each other. So imagine trusting them overseas. You know what I'm saying? So we got a long way to go to build that trust up. And voting is not the way to do it, because guess what? We've been voting for years and our situation has not changed. So it's very important to step away from voting and work on our creativity and getting our entrepreneurship on. You got anything to say to that?
Yeah, like the non-ball says, and the nature of nature in general, the key to our success is doing the opposite of what we've been doing. That's really our problem. We're not following the dictates of, you know, first getting our mental right and the upward motion, following sound right reason as individuals until we're strong enough to do what we need to do as a whole. Spiritually, we have the worst progressive spirits that the human race can be given, and that plays a lot into it. Us being in America on moon base, us being totally surrounded by religious institutions and different versions of it. And again, one of the things I always point out is that in the memorandum, it says that the time of the Savior has passed, and that's been since February 5th, 1962. And even though that's the case, we're still doing things in a Savior like religion. Religion, the negative forces of nature produces a Savior, which someone comes and promises you heaven and X, Y, and Z, and it never happens. And that's how the political game is ran too. You know, I promise I'm gonna do this if you elect me or if you follow me. And every person that gets in office for people who are not privy to the back end of what they really intend to do, you always hear them say, you never kept your promise. You never did this. We gave you this money. We funded you. We did all, and you never listened and did nothing for us. And so politics and religion are the same, although they try to pretend that they are two opposing forces, the same way they'll try to say the Democrat and the Republicans are opposite. But I was listening to some information a while back where the Democrat and the Republican Party used to be one unit, and then they split, I think sometime in the 1800s or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. And so even with money, you know, when they all these things are key words that are put in place that's burned into our head. You know, we're trying to do things that's opposite of religion for those of us who are keen to that. And so when you put money away, they say, you need to what? Save your money instead of liberating your money. But you can't do either, really, because we don't make the money. So whether you take the money and put it into the places they say, or you put it in somewhere else, not in there, you're still doing the same thing in an opposite manner. And so that's why the 9-ball, as I was reading over it in the Bible interpretation the last couple of days, one of the things that stuck out that Afroon said, we need to have our own economic structure. So that means our economics have to be different from theirs, all the way from how they create their money, which is destroying trees, you know, paper, destroying the planet to make plastic and computer chips and all. And then when they get through with all the gadgets that burn out, they put it on a big boat and then take it over to Africa and dump all of these throwaway toys and gadgets that we don't no longer need. A lot of people don't know that America takes all of its waste and trash and garbage and take it to Africa and dump it. So nature is giving some of our kin over there some brilliance that they actually taking that garbage and trash and using it and turning it into workable solutions to clean the environment. So we're in the wrong place. And again, and another thing that Afro Unu pointed out is that in the 9-ball as Amanu Barakatar is that we need to get back across seas, but we got to first get our mind right before we go there. You can't go there and we're not in unification. That's why you say, you know, Africa is for Africans, and that means we have to be African minded, and that means being the opposite of what America minded is. And I think one of the biggest problems too is that they teach us to put the female first, and that's not how it goes. The man has to be returned to his seat of glory, and then in turn he'll put her in her seat, and then the children is automatically taken care of. We've been running behind the female since 1970, and it's gotten us nowhere. And that whole paradigm is welfarish, and that is one-sided, because that's what they do. In religion, they give the men or the male so-called God all of the attention. Outside of that, the female gets all of the attention. So you still have two things that are so-called split, because the female is being attacked and tricked the same way the Bible is set up, with the serpent going at the female after the male was removed and tricked out of his so-called position or his responsibility. And then the female was told, listen, I'm gonna do this, that, and the third. And that's still how the government is set up today, where they still funding females in various degrees, and the male is like, except the only difference is, in this case, with the way America's system is set up, they kick the man out the house, or kick Adam, just use a religious story because this government is based upon the Bible. They kicked the man out of the garden and kept the female in there and gave her all of these gifts, gave her things she didn't deserve, she didn't work for, and all she have to do is follow the dictates, which is have a man after man after man, someone's woman on woman, just a whole bunch of mess, and keep the children coming out confused so they can use them. So we have a lot to get in order in a short time. And as long as you can create a state of desperation, then the government has a place to keep producing a savior, but they all fail. So back to the voting, that's what that is. It's like, vote for me, I'll solve all your problems. They all say that. They all say that when these people get into office. They get mad when they be like, oh, well, we voted you in. Now you need to be to fix everything. But then the president is limited. The president has limited power. The Congress has the power to stop the president. The only thing, allegedly, because they haven't done it to my knowledge, the only thing the president has supreme power in is to pardon somebody. For my research, that's the only thing.
Out of jail.
Huh?
Yeah, pardon somebody out of jail, but can't pardon nobody or anything else.
Right. You can't stop poverty and all these other things, because if he tries to do these things, he'll end up dead. Or the Congress, like I said,
he'll get you out of jail if you do do murder.
Yeah, that's about it. They can't. That's the only thing they can do. But as far as trying to fix problems, it can't be done. And so we have to do things in order, and that's what we have to figure out. The religion don't work. The black woman is God don't work. Talking about worshiping gay aliens and hermaphrodites and gatekeepers, that's not working. They doing everything except putting the man back in his place. If you look at it, they doing everything else. They got what children can divorce their parents. Will Smith, them kids did that to them. They got where parents can dress their kids up as females. They doing all things that's disrupting the family unit, and then totally dismiss the man.
Is all to get rid of the alpha male.
That's it.
We don't want the alpha male to return. Yeah, you can have a male, but he has to be feeble. He can't talk too loud. But
right.
But the woman can talk loud. She can yell, scream, act boisterous, do whatever she want. But when it comes to that man, if you get too loud or too aggressive, or he's too much, he's that, they don't want that to return. So if that ever returns, then they know that's a problem for their society. But as Noonie Boo males, we don't desire to yell, scream, and do all those different things. Our goal is to empower, and empower financially, empower mentally as well. Yeah. Because once you're empowered mentally, nobody can make you a slave again.
Right. And the book says that. So we got to put the man have to be put back in order. That's the ultimate thing, because America is do your own thing. You can do what you want. We don't need to be following the tradition. And it's not a tradition. The man, woman, and child, or man and women and children, right? That right there has to be put back in place. That's again, that's like taking it's like you losing say your heart go bad and they have to put something else in there, or another body part go bad, and they substitute it except with like you got some people that they didn't put a pig heart in people. You got a pig heart transplant, or whatever the case is. It's not the original formula, so therefore there's backlashes and negative effects from it, and that's the problem. So we have to do everything in the opposite, because this country is the opposite of Africa. And if people got a problem with saying African American, what the reason why that term fits is because our descendancy came from so many parts from the continent and mixed, that when you do your research, say blood wise, and we see this all the time. You'll never see where your bloodline came straight from here because of the mixing. You always have 13% this, 10% that, 40% this, and that's what makes us African and American. Really, you get African because you mix with a couple of different tribes of people, and we in what's called America. That's not the overall ultimate title. It's just dealing with common sense. Like you said, common sense. We live in what they call America. And we come from Africa. And before that, we came from the ground. And before that, we came from the sun. And before that, we came from conscious gases. So we even beyond just the continent of Africa. And so we're having this debate of identity. But that's the thing that I wanted to just let it be known, that while we're voting for everybody else, vote for that man. Vote, and I mean in your own self, get sound right knowledge, get the information we presenting to y'all, find out what you're supposed to be doing. The man had to be returned. The same way he was taken out, the government put certain things into play, but the female is the one that took him out. She actually did the work. She the one who agreed to take the handouts and kick the man out.
And spiritually.
You're right. And allowed the Negro to take his place, as well as the pimp, the drug dealer, and then the homosexual came in, and then it just kept going and going and going. And now go ahead. What'd you say?
And Jesus.
Oh yeah, don't forget him. Jesus is
the head of my household.
Right, even with the man in there. and again, all of this is, like you said, to get rid of the alpha male. For it ain't even a beta male. Like what's the last let me see what is that? Let me see what it is. Give me a second.
Alpha, beta, delta.
Greek alphabet.
Yeah, it's alpha, beta, delta, gamma. I think I forgot theta.
The omega male.
Mm-hmm.
And omega represent death.
Yep.
On the end. That's what they got. They got something that's a male, but not really. Because the alpha male is the first, the original mode. They got all the way to the omega, the end. And what they got is everything except that. Transgenders, all type. That's the omega male right there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to return to the first, which is the 9. And so that's our main problem right now, is that the female is not in her proper place. She's actually been put in the man's place after being replaced herself, after helping the government displace the man. And it's been confusion ever since. And so everything is backwards. So, I mean, like you said, but it all ties in, man. We have to do the opposite. We shouldn't be voting or none of that stuff. Let's like everybody learning how to eat. If you're eating better, that means you're eating opposite of what you was doing before. If you stop doing this, that means it's already practicing the opposite without really knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what the Caucasian race has done when they started coming into our circles and seeing how we were living.
Mm-hmm.
And they studied that. And they said, well, if everything that they do is based over what we're seeing, we got to introduce them into something that's opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things they did was get us away from the sun and put us further away in the cold. You know, so, and we know that the sun gets vitamin D and all these different things. So it's like we are so far removed in the opposite of what we used to do. It's all the way down to the education, which is miseducation. And voting, they do this every year though. I mean, this been going on for a couple of years. I think Puff Daddy was one of the ones that they used to bring the younger generation in with that vote or die.
Mm-hmm.
And from that time on, they just keep getting everybody saying vote, 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 because they know that they're losing power. So now they're now putting darker people in position. But again, that's how the vampire works. The vampire always got a minion that they bite while they sit in the shadows, and the minion can walk around in the sunlight. But go ahead, Ken. Let's get to this positive information.
Whole thing. Instead of the president, we don't, because presidents are leaders of companies, and that's why they label America a corporation. We as Ethiopian people, we go by kings and queens.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we get back to our right mind, we have to elect, select, whatever, pick. I use the word pick. I don't like elect and select. We'll pick a king, you understand? And that king or queen if we desire to have a queen run the kingdom, and that particular individual is not bound by politics, but bounded by intelligence and sound right reason. So the person that's emulsified or the deepest into Noon and represents Nupu in a physical form, or represents intelligence or the highest intelligence in a physical form, that person would most likely be the king or queen to make decisions for a lengthy amount of time. 4 years is not a long enough time. So it would be something like 9 years. And that person would make decisions economically for the whole kingdom so that everybody can benefit. And from there, you already know the king will have, viziers or people who would, advise him or her, well, is this a good move or this a bad move? Or because we're not going to sit up there and try to make the king as if the king is going to be a god, or, you know what I'm saying? And you're going to be worshiping this person, because that person is still subjected to making mistakes. So it would behoove us to also help the king and queen by being proper citizens of a true culture society, and to help the king and queen make their job easier. So that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother time, but it's time for us to get out of that voting thing and start working on our economic success. And that starts with supporting each other. That starts with supporting the Sox. That starts with supporting Nine by Nature. It's in the chat. So if you guys want to see where those websites are, put down that Dove soap, because Dove ain't doing nothing for the black community. When y'all see Dove come back in there and help black kids go to college and better themselves? When y'all see that happen? When y'all ever see Dove or these other soap brands go to Africa and give back to Africa? They don't do none of that. Nothing. They don't do anything for black people but destroy your skin. So it'll behoove us to give back to our own, so our own can give back to us. And it's a healthy cause. It'll help empower us as a people, and also it'll help give back to Africa. All right. So that's our spill on that whole voting thing, and just wanted to spend a couple minutes on that. But this shouldn't be long. We're gonna start off with a video. Actually, I'm gonna just talk a little bit about, not even talk. Let's go to the Mississippi River, because that's what we're dealing with today, right, Ken?
Yeah, we want to answer something that I have been looking into. Dane Calloway, I've been noticing a lot of the beef that's been going on between the Aborigines, which is just Africans, versus the so-called community, which is African. So now you got African on African intellectual crime. And Dane Calloway, I heard him say, which I have got, I done reached out to him a couple of times to ask him to explain. Did he say that the Mississippi River was the Nile? And I just went through a couple of videos just to be sure. Did he mean because he was telling the story about Christopher Columbus and all of them, and how they told a story how they was traveling, and that he said that the way the Mississippi runs and all that stuff like that, you can get to anywhere in the United States. So I said, okay, well, maybe he just means, in a way that he's describing it. But then I actually heard another video where he said that the Mississippi is the Nile River. And then when I listened to it, he actually said that we come from the Mississippi. Then he said primordially. So primordial is meaning, that's in the beginning. So that means he's saying that the Mississippi is the origin of our race. So I'm not sure if Dane Calloway is thank you, is Ethiopian or part of the African race, because the Noon science, what universally unites our race of people is our kinky hair, and scientifically it's called floccular, and the scientists have confirmed that the sun itself has floccular, or what we call solar flux ropes. And so that's our connection to the sun. So all the pictures I've seen him, his hair's been kind of low. So I'm not gonna assume he's not African or partially African. I don't know. But the information is what we're trying to just put forth, because that'll settle all of the drama, is all this arguing and debating about the things that's keeping us divided. And like I said before, it's just the negative force of nature that's putting out more stuff, because our people waking up from religion and getting the facts. And so now when the spell of religion breaks, that's all that's left after all this other stuff. But go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, so we're gonna go to the Mississippi River, because that's what is the culprit to this whole thing. All right, so you can, I think that's on the screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it says the Mississippi River is the chief river of the second largest drainage of North America continent, second to only the Hudson Bay drainage system. The stream is entirely within the United States, although its drainage basin reaches into Canada. Its source is Lake Itasca in northern Minnesota, and it flows generally south for 2,320 miles. That's 3,730 kilometers to the Mississippi River Delta in the Gulf of Mexico. With its many tributaries, the Mississippi watershed drains all or parts of 31 states and 2 Canadian provinces between the Rocky and Appalachian Mountains. The Mississippi ranks as the 4th longest and 15th largest river by discharge in the world. The river either borders or passes through the states of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Native Americans long lived along the Mississippi River and its tributaries. Most were hunter-gatherers, but some, such as the mound builders, formed prolific agricultural societies. The arrival of Europeans in the 16th century changed the native way of life as first explorers. Then settlers ventured into the basin in increasing numbers. The river served first as a barrier forming borders for New Spain, New France, and the early United States, and then as vital transportation artery communications link in the 19th century during the height of ideology of manifest destiny. The Mississippi and several western tributaries, most notably the Missouri, form pathways for the western expansion of the United States. Formed from thick layers of the river's silt deposits, the Mississippi embayment is one of the most fertile agricultural regions of the country, which resulted in the river's storied steamboat era. During the American Civil War, the Mississippi captured the Union forces, marked a turning point towards victory due to the river's importance as a route of trade and travel, not least to the Confederacy. Because of the substantial growth of cities and the larger ships and barges that supplanted riverboats, the first decade of the 20th century saw the construction of massive engineering works such as levees, locks, and dams, often built in combination. All right, so that's just a little history on the Mississippi River. So we're gonna stop that screen share real quick, right? One thing I want people to realize is let's look at the way that the river flows, because I'm gonna do this fast. I'm not even gonna waste no. Matter of fact, no, not yet. Let's get to how the river was formed. So I'm gonna play a quick little video real quick. So give me 1 second. I'll play a video. It's like 4 minutes long. Just bear with me, people. There we go.
Ohio River adds its great flood from the east. Huckleberry Finn's monstrous big river can be recognized. It's still the Mississippi, and it keeps on rolling along, down to that jazz-soaked jewel of a southern city, New Orleans. Surprisingly much narrower now, although much deeper, the Mississippi carries the harvests of mid-America out through the second largest seaport in the United States to join the shipping lanes of the Gulf of Mexico. And new cargoes show it's still frontier country. Deceptively, there are still 100 miles to go to reach this marshy delta, the seaward extremity of that great load of sediments that the Mississippi scavenged from an area it's been said as great as England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, France, Spain, Portugal, Germany, Austria, Italy, and Turkey combined. That measure was Mark Twain's. But what he couldn't know was that now, contrary to what might be expected, the river is building precious little new land. In fact, this delta is sinking quite fast, nearly ½ an inch every year. Knowing why the land is subsiding may tell us why Old Man River rolls down this way at all. The river and its tributaries drain into the Gulf through a vast basin. The Earth's crust here is unusually thin, and it's slowly sagging under the weight of sediment. How that basin formed is a story that started 600 million years ago. At that time, the world looked different from the one we know today. Continents were drifting across the globe, a slow voyage over millions of years. Movements of the Earth's restless crust sent the land masses we know today as Africa and South America drifting on a collision course with North America. Jostled and collided with each other, eventually welding together to form a supercontinent called Pangaea. The restless new mass formed a giant insulating blanket over the Earth's hot interior. As the heat built up beneath Pangaea, the continental crust began to stretch and thin. Eventually, it tore apart. What are called rift valleys grew in several directions, but one began to enlarge much faster. Some rifts, like this one on the left, gradually became inactive and filled with sediments. Called failed rifts, they are weaknesses in the crust and can cause earthquakes. The active rift widened as a further layer of lava was added. More dense than the continental crust, it sank, creating a basin that filled with water, a basin destined to become the North Atlantic Ocean. Further west on this supercontinent, where the Gulf of Mexico would later form, this same process was repeated. Once again, stretching created a new rift. The land to the north, weakened by ancient failed rifts, continued to stretch until the crust became so thin that it shattered, creating a huge shallow sea. The ocean flooded in, covering the continent well inland from today's coastline, drowning the piece of thin sinking crust that would later become the silted floodplain of the Mississippi.
All right. So that right there was just a little bit of how the Mississippi River was formed. But I want you guys to take note, especially when they made reference to the fact that the way that the river flows. So 1 second to pull up how the river flows, because that's very important to understanding the birth of these particular of the races. All right, give me 1 second. I thought I had this pulled up even before. Okay, here we go. All right, wait 1 second. All right. You see that? All right. Mississippi River anatomy.
Hold on.
This is the mighty force that has formed the largest delta in North America. The Mississippi drains 41%, which is 1.25 million. That's 1.25 million square miles of the continental United States, including 31 states and 2 Canadian provinces. It is 1,200 miles by river from Cairo, Illinois to the mouth. I guess that's where they might think is the Nile River, right? Because you got a spot called Cairo to the mouth of the river, and only 600 miles as the crow flies. Also, it is 569 miles from Arkansas, Louisiana line to the Gulf by river, but only half that in a straight line distance. Over this 569-mile length, its elevation drops 115 feet or 2.5 miles. All right, so I'm not gonna read too much more, but I want you guys to see here the different rivers that go all the way down into the Mississippi, and it drains into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, I want you to look at my arrow. My arrow is going to be pointing to the Gulf. If beings were to be born, they would have to be born from the Gulf going up. So the river would have to flow up in order for people to be born inside of America, rather than being born in America and being flowed out towards the Gulf, because the river flows into the Gulf, right? And the way that the river was formed, it's not over a mantle plume. Like we did in the previous episodes, we showed you that the mantle plume comes directly from under the planet, where these formulas would be made to make human beings again through a process called alpha bombardment. I would suggest that you guys go look up what alpha bombardment is, or nuclear transmutation. That's another name that they use for alpha bombardment. It's either nuclear transmutation or alpha bombardment, where atoms would be bombarded with each other to create new atoms or new molecules, and these molecules would in turn keep binding with each other, and they would, as time goes on, they will create organisms. All right, but in the case of the Mississippi River, it's not over a mantle plume, so there's no way that organisms would be born, as far as human beings are concerned, from this river, because of the way that the river flows. If we go to the Nile River, give me 1 second. Let's go to the Nile River real quick. If we go, I might have to type it in. Give me a second. if we go to the Nile River, we'll see that the Nile River is going in the opposite direction. Nile River flow. Let's do that. Because I believe the Nile River flows into the Mediterranean Sea. Where's the, they have something here that usually shows the direction of the Nile River. And it would prove that our ancestors came out of the waters of Lake Victoria, and they don't have a good map of it showing the Nile River from Lake Victoria going up towards the Mediterranean. But that's the direction that the river flows, the Nile River. It goes from south and it goes up towards the Mediterranean Sea, and it drains into the Mediterranean Sea. So our ancestors came up from out of Lake Victoria, or the source of Lake Victoria, and their egg formulas had them spread out along the Nile River. And that's where they were born, as opposed to the Mediterranean Sea. I hope you guys understand what I mean. All right, let me just pull up a picture and I'll screen share that just so we could get a visual of what I'm talking about. All right, so this is a picture of the Nile River. The Nile River goes this way and it drains into the Mediterranean Sea. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse. This is my mouse right here. And it goes from all the way down here and it drains into the Mediterranean Sea. But if we go back to the Mississippi River, it comes from up and it goes down into the Gulf of Mexico. So there's no starting point in America for them to have a plume there where the birth of the gods would happen, as opposed to in Africa where there would be a birth and then they would be going up towards in Africa. I don't think do you understand what I'm saying, Ken?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, if they haven't listened to some of the things, they probably wouldn't get it. But from what he was saying, they was talking about how Columbus and them whatever traveled, you have to flip the map for it to make sense. Instead of him, because they were saying something about when he talked about traveling, he was traveling where it was warm at. And he said that if he was going toward the north, it would have been colder. But they said the way he traveled, it was warm, so he had to been going south. And he mentioned something about I think either Uncle Tom's Cabin or no. What's the guy name who wrote the book about Huckleberry Finn? I think he said something about, in that book it mentions about Mississippi, but he kind of made it sound mysterious, like, y'all need to go get that book instead of just saying what it is that you're saying. And even and a lot of this stuff, because like I said, even the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that when he was alive, that one of his sayings, according to what I read on the oral tradition, he said that y'all came from Mississippi. I just got to show you. So, again, a lot of this is just backwards information and trying to, the forces trying to usurp our original place of origin to what America, and it's mixing the histories of the people that are here, which is our race and the branch of the Phoenician race called the Indians, or the American Indians or whatnot. And so therefore because of the race mixing. And if you look at some of the pictures that they're showing, they don't understand about our hair texture. So they'll see, I see a lot of Indians that they will say what you would consider Black African Indians, but their hair doesn't bear that out. They may be mixed, but they're not. The hair is the ultimate marker. So because they don't understand the hair and how it connects to the sun, and they don't get that. We do. And so a lot of the pictures they're showing, that's why they're making the mistake, because they don't understand the races or the sub-races and how certain monkeys is involved in that as well. So they don't get it. And like I said, I've been doing my research and trying to break it down to the simplest form. But what you're doing is showing exactly why it can't be the Nile. And again, they trying to take what was already established with Africa. And me and Chief had a conversation about this many a times. And I said, well, you know, his thing was we was always here, but I said everything has an origin. Something had to come first. We didn't just start popping up simultaneously on the planet. And you know, Chi told me, he said, well, as far as he know, we've been here so long, he doesn't know. And I asked him, because I've been trying to get just a couple of my questions answered from Dane. I was just asking him, what does he say that what he considers our race come from? What is the source? And if you can't give an origin, then that defeats the whole point of running around on the net saying certain things and you don't have no basis. You know, the basis is the foundation is everything. Of course, I know we all been ignorant, and so we wake up at different times, so that's understandable. So I'm not coming at him for waking up at a certain point and he's trying to make a point. Some of the stuff he says is true. However, you have to go back beyond when we weren't race mixing. And that's the problem that they're having. But go ahead, Ken.
No, you're absolutely right. And this part of the segment is so easy that it's almost too difficult to explain. You know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, I'm gonna show another clip. This one is a little clearer than the one I put up before. And this is with Africa. And this is showing the map of Africa where it shows you that directly from the lake, it drains and it goes northward. The Nile River flows north. It doesn't flow south like the Mississippi. All the rivers in the Mississippi go south into the Gulf of Mexico. This particular river, the Nile River, flows north and goes into the Mediterranean Sea. But the source of the Nile River is Lake Victoria. There's no source or lake in America that you can prove to say, okay, well, there's a birthing ground in any one of those lakes. None of those lakes are tectonic lakes. And what I mean by tectonic lakes is that there's a process of creation taking place, because we have to understand that creation takes warmth, wetness, darkness, and and the proper conditions in order for things to be born. There's none of that that's taking place in any one of the Great Lakes they call them Great Lakes, any one of the lakes in America. There's no tectonic plate shift taking place. There's no volcanoes under them. There's no heat taking place. You need heat in order to create life. That's one of the major and the most basic things that need to be taught anyone that's bringing forth anything about life. If somebody comes to you and tells you, well, life was created from this planet, first thing you got to ask them, is there heat there? Is there any kind of heat there? Because heat is the source of life. All right. So like I said, the Lake Victoria is a tectonic lake. It sits on a rift, and that rift goes down into what they call the mantle plume. That mantle plume goes all the way down for a couple thousand miles, all the way to the core, to what you would call the slab graveyard, where all types of elements, plants, animals have been down there through what they would call the subduction zone. And then they change their composition. Once they change their composition, and then a process of alpha bombardment takes place, which is a couple million years from now, then you will see beings coming up again. Right now, we're just going through the evolutionary factors of beings creating themselves, and their evolutionary ancestors just keep repeating themselves. That's why you won't see human beings coming from the planet, because we are the evolutionary form of those that came from the planet. So we're not going to have a duplication of the process of these beings coming from the planet again. We are a duplication of what created us. We are the ancestors of those that came from the planet. The same thing that goes for animals as well. You're not going to see animals coming directly from the planet. You will see the ancestors of those animals that came from the waters. And if we go further all the way back, we'll realize that those ancestors were amphibious. They were able to live under the water, and they were able to live on land. It was only about 600,000 years ago where we as Black people were able to live underwater and on the surface of the land, based upon the fact that we have tonsils, that used to be gills, like the fishes have gills, and also the appendixes that were the buoy systems in fish and things like that. All right, so it's a very, very simple topic today. Very, very simple. The fact is that go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to give a special acknowledgement to Chief Holiday here in the chat. True Peace, Chief. I had sent him the link. He just popped in. Like I said before, we're not attacking our brothers that's trying to get to the truth about who we are and all of that, because we really on the same team. It's just different reasonability. And I think that anybody else that's inside this particular discussion or battle, that the other people are going at it wrong, and that we shouldn't be going at each other the way I see them attacking Dame. And I know that, a person can only take so much before they start hollering and screaming and cussing, which I seen him do in a lot of ways, because facts destroys lies all day. But we have to understand, you can't argue a person's belief. You only can present the facts and the science and everything else that come with it, and leave it as it is. And Chief would tell you that too, that we talk about a lot of stuff, and we've been talking about this particular conversation for over a year. And we always treat each other with respect. And he even told me, because I told him what we was doing, and he said, when we get through with our series, he invited us to come over there, which we will, to to dialogue and to get this unification. Because like I said, we only like this with the Nawabin for specific reasons, which everybody who been paying attention understands that. So everybody else can get a better treatment, because they haven't aggressed us as practitioners of Noon science and his Noonie Bulls. But anybody else besides the Nawapians, they have to get this work because of what they done. Anybody else, we just gonna pave the way and put the facts out there so they can get it. I wanted to also add as well, like you said, it takes heat because life is a burning, and you have to have these things for stuff for life to be. And let me share my screen real quick, because we also it tells you that what Lake Victoria, where does it sit at, Anoop?
In the on the equator.
Right. It sits on the equator. And that is very, very important too. Because again, that's where life goes at, where it's heat. You got to have that equator situation. And for those who know anything, that I'm trying to share my screen real quick. Let me know when you see the picture.
Yeah, the equator.
Huh?
Yeah, I see a picture of the equator.
All right, good. If you look at it, you will notice that the equator runs through South America and Africa. It doesn't, America is nowhere near the equator. It doesn't run nowhere near the Mississippi.
Nope.
On top of that. So you need it, and again, we haven't even touched on the temperature, how hot it has to be when our ancestors even are created and grown and birthed. So that's another problem that that our Aborigine fam will have a problem with. They don't have this particular type of knowledge, because you have to have heat, and it's a particular type of heat. And these things, you have to know these things. We know the temperature of the planet now and 18 million years from now, 72 million years all around. We know the temperature of the whole universe, of all the universes, because this information was already given to us. And me and Anoop was working on this, like 3 years ago?
Yep.
And Anoop figured out the rest of the equation. I gave him what I started with a couple years back, and I remember when I wrote Dr. York about the temperature, and he never answered me back. When I started breaking down the heat and the ethers from what I had, he never responded to that. He never answered that question. And so when I gave what I wrote to York, and Anoop took it to the crib, it didn't take him that long, but he figured out the necessary heat. Afro Uno already gave us the formulas to life. It's in book 2. We just have to put it together, and then everything else will flow. But what we're doing is following samurai reason. We don't want people to think for any moment that we are the intelligence that's driving this. That's not the case. Nupu is the mental energies, male and female, that chose Afro Uno, who did the research and the work and put it in book form, and our job is to validate. This is what makes us different than any other religion or group on the planet. People came in saying vouching for a book they couldn't validate. And so we use things in the reverse. We validate the book, then vouch for it, because the vouch comes right when you validate. It's already vouched, because the facts vouch it. And so this is the methodology that we're trying to give y'all, that you don't have to bust your brain thinking that you got to figure out how old the earth is and all of that. The knowledge has been given. We validating. And this is the most informative, fun thing I ever done in my life, is to realize I'm proud to be Black. I'm proud to be a descendant of greatness. And it took many, many years, many, many deceptive people I ran into in order to get to where I'm at. And now we can validate for real. So when we say that we come from above, or from the sun and beyond, it's not on no extraterrestrial alien crap that can't be validated. But we can validate through science and evidence. We do know that much. And so that's what I just wanted to let y'all know. When you're looking at the screen, because I can't see it on here. You can still see the picture of the equator and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I just want that just to be known that these are certain ingredients that y'all gotta have. Know that life requires darkness, heat, and moisture. The Mississippi River doesn't have that.
Yeah, it's too dry. It's too dry up there. There's no moisture up there by the Mississippi River.
And that's why the plumes are important as well. You need that super heat. You need all of that. But go ahead, Ken. I just wanted to put that into the equation and how important the equator is, and the fact that Lake Victoria sits right on the equator.
That and the Pacific Ocean over there.
Mm-hmm.
That and the Pacific Ocean. So these are the main factors that play into the what you call it, into creating life on planet Earth. Mm-hmm. But like I said, it was going to be a quick show, but it was going to be something about just informing people how simple things can be, and religion and false information can complicate it. Mm-hmm. And it's real simple. So
go ahead, Ken.
Once you guys put those things together, then you'll be all right. So that's my spill on it tonight. So what I told you guys wasn't going to be a long show. It was just going to be a quick little something to show you guys that the Mississippi River is not the Nile River. It doesn't even flow the same direction as the Nile River. So it can't be the Nile River. It can't be the beginning of civilization, because guess what? It doesn't have an origin point and flows out from that origin point. And it's not sitting where it would be warm. You understand? It's only a certain time of the year where it's warm. The equator is warm all year round. You understand what I'm saying? All year round, the equator is warm. Of course, there's a winter season, but it's warm all year round. So that's my spill on that. I don't know if you want to talk about anything else before.
Yeah, I did want to. I wanted to go into that. I made a mistake and exited out of it. Give me 1 second. I wanted to just read a couple of things from our information about what it says about Indians.
Okay.
All right. So let me see if I can share my screen again. All right.
Yep, see it.
You see it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. This is coming from the 9-ball counts. And it says here number 32. It said our Ethiopian ancestors, the African pygmies in their aerial form, 9 ether grew the universe, and the universes is the suns, planets, satellites, etc. So why should we evolutionary tars confine ourselves to one spot on this planet when our ancestors made it and we were in North America long before the Indians? However, it is reasonable and practical that as our own cultural resurrection progress, many Ethiopian farmers, tradesmen, technicians, and all types of workers necessary to help build the economic and military independence of our motherland, Africa, will repatriate to that continent in their right minds for that purpose. All right, that's for that one. Let me see, we go to 13. It says the winter season of the universe produced the chimpanzee monkey, and a branch of the chimpanzee evolved into the Phoenician race, an East Indian type of people who occupy the northern regions of Africa and certain portions of Asia, especially Western Asia, and are known today as Arabs. This people in time past represented the sun god for Leviathan, the zodiac, which is 6 ether in time past, the chief god of the Phoenicians, and it goes on and goes on. Let me see what other number. Okay, 46. And it says, and by using the same prescriptions as described in these booklets for Ethiopians, other darker races can liberate themselves and be free. Of course, each race application of nature's laws and way will be in each race's own nature, and it is most effective this way. In other words, the solution to world problems for Ethiopians is the solution for other races also against the number one common enemy called the Caucasian race. The Caucasian race killed off most darker peoples of Europe approximately 6,000 years ago and stole that continent, and less than 500 years ago killed off the Ethiopians and Indians in North America and stole this continent. And it has no intentions of stopping until it kills off most darker peoples of the earth and steal all the lands of the planet and establish a permanent world slave state. The whole Caucasian race is Hitler. All right. Let me see. I got two more. It says, listen to reason. When Columbus was supposed to have discovered North America in 1492, you can see that?
Mm-hmm.
The Moors were sailing the seven seas with expertise and time immemorial. The Moors were members of the Ethiopian and Phoenician races who were masters of water and hydraulics and thereby master seamen and master builders. It is written that the members of the African race laid out Washington, D.C. and did most of the building. Some members of the Ethiopian race were honorary Indian chiefs when the Pilgrims set foot on Plymouth Rock. So we need to understand that too. Not only were we on the planet first, y'all got to understand that after our ancestors created us, procreated us sexually, and then died off and came back as other races and animals, we were already populated around the earth. Then we mixed with the Phoenician race a little bit later, way later actually, and then we spread out, but we taught them as well. So both races were together, mixed, and we was already here before they came on the land because of our ancestors was located all over the planet. And this is where the confusion is, what people getting it in at. Primordially, the Nile River, Lake Victoria is the birthplace, but our ancestors were all over the planet around the time they started to procreate and have children, which were us. So then you can have different spots on the land where our race were procreated at sexually, but there always is a first place where something starts from. All right. So honorary, that just means you're not actually mixed or part of it, but they're making you an honorary member. You got people that do get honorary degrees and from colleges, but they never really went. They didn't really complete any particular courses at the time it took. So you become an honorary member. So that's how that works. And when the Pilgrims set foot on Plymouth Rock, the main point is this: Black people of Africa and African descent must strive and struggle to break out of the small mental and spiritual circle of ignorance and deception that Caucasians have created for us with their history and religion. And this means that we Black people must use our intelligence, which is our sound right, reasonability, evidence, and the little we already know in order to reconstruct the past knowledge of ourselves, the knowledge about others, and the positive knowledge about absolute nature for the purpose of liberating our ethnic race from mental, spiritual, and physical captivities. Let it be known. And there's one more. And it says, I'll start right down here. The Indian race, people like those of India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and the East Indian Mongolian racial beings called the American Indians and its branches. So these are other branches that if y'all want to, if the Aborigines want to really have a source to mess with, these are some of the races that are also considered Indians. So you can't sit here and poke at Africans, because actually Indians, what they call the Native Americans or Indians, are branches of what they're calling Mongolians, which they branches are East Indian, the ones in Pakistan and Afghanistan, and those of India. And these are branches. So that's, and I know, again, my hair is my ultimate sign. So regardless of what may be in my DNA here and that, that's just because of the race mixing and the raping and all that other stuff and wherever my people went. But I'm African by descent, and my hair makes a declaration that I'm not the same as a straight hair being who has descendants running around because of their nature. And this is what people don't understand. All races on the planet Earth are against the African race by nature. By nature. So that means the same way a cat and a dog are what? Opposites by nature. It doesn't mean that the dog choosing to make the cat its natural enemy, like the wolf and the lamb. These are things that are embedded in each individual and races as a whole organism. So I wouldn't be surprised. And again, I've been asking, it wouldn't surprise me if Dane Calloway was not African. And if that is the case, his nature is showing and proven by going so hard against true African descendancy and origin when that is the problem here. Y'all have to understand that. And if he is African, then that's a spiritual thing, that he has a spirit that took a hold of him that's making him go against his own self and kind. But that the jury is still out as far as that, because I still been asking what is his nationality as far as just for basic understanding. Is he black, meaning does he have kinky hair? In Noon Science, your hair tells a lot about you and your origin. So I can't tell if his hair is kinky. It looks curly. So I just want to know what his nationality is, or does his hair kink? That's all we need to know. If your hair kink, you African, you part of the Ethiopian race, no matter what you say. But that's all I wanted to add, is that we are very aware that our people were on the planet, but we come way before that. So we're not going to do like Afro Unu said, confine ourselves to one spot on the planet, because we're not doing that either. I don't think that the Kemetic community should limit themselves to just Egypt, you know, because we go beyond that. What were you before you were in the human form? So these things like that is why Noon Science deal with origins, because in origin, we all one. It's just on the other side of things, we have now starting to become confused, and we're trying, and we don't understand how this stuff works. But that's all I wanted to do, Ken. I just wanted to.
That's why I'm going to Mars. I don't know about you. I don't know about you. I'm going.
There's somebody on Mars waiting to hate.
I'm going to Mars.
Martian. You ain't Martian.
I came here by way of a dolphin.
They're gonna say you was an earthling. You don't supposed to be here. Oh, don't let the Nuwapians hear that. They're gonna say, see, I told you we from the dolphin.
Ridiculous.
But yeah, the night was great. I appreciate that. It was real good, man. And hopefully others can get this information and put it together and say, man, this is it right here.
Yep. So stay tuned, people. There's more shows to come and things like that. I'll probably tackle the whole where did our moon come from and things of that nature, or probably debunk that whole flat earth thing. I don't know what angle I'm gonna go at with this whole flat earth thing, but I don't even think we need to discuss this. Like, this doesn't make no sense. I'm not even gonna go into this flat earth thing, because I think it's just ridiculous.
But it's amazing, because you got mad people who never been outside the planet got so much to say. Like, it don't make no sense. You never been off the planet, so you have to use what's around you.
I done see some ridiculous models, though. I done seen them. Oh, the sun's smaller than the planet, and we really in the center of the universe. I'm like, how you know we in the center of the universe? Like,
the universe,
you ain't been out, but you in the center.
I ain't never left the neighborhood. That's what I'm saying. The spirit beings that got our people so backwards, man. And so, like I say all the time, well, how the earth flat, but everything else in the sky round? So,
exactly.
You know, it don't make no sense. It wouldn't be to cast a shadow the way it is. It's too much. It's too much. But that's just
what I'm saying. I don't even want to even touch on that. It don't make no sense to even touch on that topic, honestly.
Yeah, I'm
gonna skip that one because that's just ridiculousness. I think the next one I'll probably do the moon, you know, the origin of our moon and things like that.
Yeah,
that'll
be good because a lot of these pseudos and spooked out people also listen to David Icke talking about the moon was hollow and some aliens drove the moon over here and parked it into the gravitational pull, and it's really aliens inside watching us, and they talking about they dropped the
moon was born right here. No,
yeah, but this is the foolishness that they're saying. They even some of the I forgot that African guy that from the Dogon tribe. I can't say his name, but he was saying something similar too. And they all think that aliens are sitting back running stuff. And so they so caught up on the reptilian. That need to be touched on too, the reptilian, and why that's such an infatuation out of all things on the planet. Why is the reptilian the target and the main face, you know, of all things scary? Because you see them on TV, they be taking people's eyes and look, this a reptilian right here, and they'll pull some famous white pale person out of a crowd standing with a bunch of billionaires, and then they so-called zoom in on his eyes and look at his eyes change. I'm like, y'all doing this? Y'all playing with the camera? Like, it's just too much mess, man. But this is the stuff that they got going on. So some of this stuff got to be dealt with because this is what's waiting for people as they escape religion. And because of that, they run into, they're more open. You know, we got to touch on the real Jesus thing. We need to get into that. It's just far as let them know that the history been here on the planet. The Bible was not correct in the way that they portrayed the situation. That individual had nothing to do with what they believe in. It's just a whole bunch of mess, you know, that need to be dealt with at least once and for all. I mean, we took them close when we did the Black Panther thing. You know, had they did more research on it, they would have seen exactly what we was trying to tell them then. So, but yeah, I'm done with that. And as far as that, anything else you wanted to say?
No, that's it, man. True peace. Thank y'all for watching all 4 of the Out of America thing. I hope you guys learned something, and I hope you guys can, you know, take this information and spread it and let people know that we definitely originate out of Africa, and from Africa we migrated or spread out amongst the continents, and we got here, you know, whether it be by slavery or whether it be by sea or whether our ancestors done traveled here because they were masters at seas. You know, we got here, you know, but we all originate from Africa, and those with other types of hairs originated from the Pacific Ocean over there in the Indonesian islands. So
yeah, that got to be done too.
Yeah, so that gonna be done another day.
Yeah. The birth of mankind.
Yep. So, all right. True peace, everybody.
True peace.
True peace.